I've always wanted to be an architect, always loved architecture. As an architect, you create an idea, but you also have to know how to build it. You have to know how to detail it and how to make it effective. I've been an architect for 23 years. I've worked mostly with residential projects, residential houses, apartments, corporate interiors. My present office that I have, we do mostly residential and retail work.
Michael Neumann's kitchen was pretty spectacular for a lot of reasons. Unlike a private home where you can move plumbing lines, you can move windows, you can change doorways, he had structural restrictions in a Manhattan apartment building that were not forgiving.
This kitchen that we did, it looks fairly simple, but there were a lot of obstructions within the space, a lot of pipes, windows. We had to accommodate a lot of different functions. There was what we considered the core kitchen, which was concentrated behind the island, and then we had sort of the extended kitchen where there was a wet bar area, there was a dishwashing area, a butler's pantry area, and the personal assistant's office, which actually sat in the corner of the whole space. So you could always have many different functions occurring at the same time, and nobody was sort of trampling over one another.
I think the most impressive thing about Michael Neumann's kitchen was the range wall and how dramatic that particular composition was.
As opposed to kind of pockmarking the kitchen with these appliances, we wanted to pull them all together as sort of an appliance wall. So we chose the 601 refrigerator and the freezer, which actually put the grill on the bottom part of the appliance. So we were able to have the upper cabinetry and the top of the refrigerator kind of just blend together seamlessly. And then carrying the upper cabinetry line all the way across the opening where the range was, and that's where the hood is buried up behind those upper cabinets. To get a continuity of the lighting across that whole upper area, we asked Wolf if we could get additional matching lights that were in the hood so that we could extend them across the whole under cabinet area.
The hood is a part of a valance across the top, also done in stainless steel. So that whole area is encased, and a small thing, we noticed that the range has a jog in the wall in the back. Now, many times a designer will take the wall and even it out. It's easy to do, but they chose to leave this quirk in the design.
We all were taken with the asymmetrical placement of the cooking unit. It was a very unusual thing, but you could tell it was because there was pipe chases that he had to work around, and yet it really made it more interesting than if it had been symmetrical.
We wanted to flank this big opening where the range was with the refrigerators and the freezers on either side. When we made this big opening, there was gas and water risers, and it caused this big bump in the wall. So we decided that we would still keep the symmetrical opening, and then we would allow the bump to occur off on the left side, and then we centered the range within the remaining deep space. So it's an interesting look. It basically accommodates for the bump and still looks organized and symmetrical for the range.
As I studied Michael Neumann's entry, I realized that it was an urban space, that it was definitely in an apartment building. Being a New Yorker, I recognized the challenges, and I realized that there were probably ceiling beams there that dictated his very creative solution for dealing with those beams to create a pattern of coffers.
The island in the kitchen being sort of the heart of the whole space, we wanted to do something to sort of emphasize that in the ceiling. But there are always restrictions with beams and pipes. So we worked around that, and we chose to break through the finished ceiling and expose all of the structure of the upper ceiling. There's a little trickery because some of the beams are real, but they were asymmetrical, and we added others in to make it symmetrical.
With Michael Neumann's design, we were struck by the dramatic impact of the combinations of material. Even though that the stainless is one of the most important parts of his design, he combined wood, marble, and various types of wood, various colors, finishes of wood, and put those together to form compositions. And it really made the stainless composition more dramatic to see all of that encased by wood and by marble.
For both the flooring and the wall, we wanted to use a running bond pattern instead of a grid pattern. It's a little more forgiving. If you've got a very long sight line, you don't want a seam to look like it's going off balance as you look down a very long hallway. For the walls, we actually had done it in a subway tile pattern, but we did a custom sizing on it so that we had the exact number of tiles going up the backsplash of the wall, and that we also sized it so that the outlets on the wall were exactly the same size in height of the tile. One of the important things is to be able to understand what the real issues are in the design and to let go of all of the instant reactions you have to solve the problem.
If there's any word that I think that describes Michael's design, it's definitely sculptural.
He integrated a lifestyle and didn't just keep it as a kitchen.
I think a really successful project is the active involvement of the client. You miss the soul of that person or that company if those people don't actively kind of breathe something into it.